The Simpsons television show has been on the air for over 30 seasons. It debuted in 1989. It's 4 years away from legally being able to run for president of the United States. And yet, despite all of this time passing, Bart and Lisa haven't even moved up a grade in school, and Maggie isn't any closer to speaking. How is that even possible? Of course, any sort of produced television show will probably ask you to suspend some sort of disbelief, but that's asking the audience to overlook a pretty glaring sore thumb. At least other shows offer the comfort of time, seeing characters mature and evolve while the actors and actresses that are playing these characters do the same. Shows like Modern Family can tell the story of each and every character as they blossom. Cartoons can't do that. Cartoons stay the same, right down to their wardrobe. Cartoons never change. Why is that? Let's start by concentrating on the whole aging aspect. In reality, people age. That's just part of the deal. I wish it weren't, but it's science. Time slows down for nobody. But fictional characters have the luxury of bending those rules. In fact, animated characters never change the day on the calendar. They exist singularly as one entity, frozen in time. Whatever age they were the day that they were created, and whatever they look like at that time, is usually how they stay for eternity. Mickey Mouse is 91 years old, but still looks exactly the same as he did in 1928. Mickey Mouse has been around since before the Great Depression, yet he hasn't lost any pep in his step. This is common among all animated mediums, even comics. Look at DC Comics, for example. Batman, Superman, and Wonder Woman are all supposed to be in their mid-30s, even today, despite the fact that they were created before or during World War II, and that's common knowledge. But an aging superhero would totally defeat the purpose of a timeless hero. Nobody wants the MCU to do a spin-off series about old Captain America sitting in various park benches. Alright, fine. I would like to see that. Maybe all of these characters only age when we're witnessing them. Like, they only exist when we give them our attention. Kind of like a tree falling in the woods type of paradox here. So comic book characters only exist in the moments when we're reading about them, and cartoon characters only exist for those 22 minutes that you're watching them. It's actually pretty impressive how these shows have managed to remain the same age forever, while still evolving their stories within the shows. There's something that comic books and animated shows both utilize called, quote, a floating timeline. It's also known as a sliding or a fluid timeline. Let's look at Batman as an example of this. He was introduced in 1939 at the age of 35. That makes him roughly 115 years old today. But he isn't. He's still 35, because he's eternally 35. The boys in South Park have only moved up one grade in school over 20 plus years of the show. Leave it to those geniuses Trey Parker and Matt Stone to break away from the cartoon norm and actually show them aging, but hilariously only do it once, and that's it. Ugh, I love those guys. Despite it only being one school year's worth of time, the show constantly managed to touch on hot button issues and whatever's trending at that moment in time. The show is somehow both timeless and completely contemporary. That's the luxury of a floating timeline. It helps viewers make better sense of what's going on in society and what's changed. These cartoon characters become trusted figures by which people are able to learn about what's going on in the world and what's new. We've seen our favorite characters, who remain timeless and ageless, adapt to new developments, talk about new trending topics, and at times evolve their personalities to reflect society. Sure, they're stuck in time, but they're also somehow on this journey forward that we're all on. Not to mention, people don't like change. 9 times out of 10, if the appearance of a beloved character is altered, there's bound to be some pop culture controversy or some sort of uproar. I suppose there's just something reassuring about having your favorite character remain the same. Even as our lives change and evolve and oftentimes get hectic, there's a sense of calm in knowing that your favorite is going to be exactly how you remembered. Plus, these younger looking characters that didn't age along with us are now appealing to new generations of viewers. There's legit generations of people who can now feel the same way towards a cartoon character together. Now's the time where I urge you to subscribe to ScreenRant and to hit that little notifications icon as well. If you're watching this on mobile, then just go into your YouTube settings and hit that mobile notifications. Then you're all set. Back to the video. So is that why animators rarely change their characters? So that they're more familiar with people who are relating to them? Well, that's not quite the entire reason. The bottom line is, the bottom line. Yeah, it's just cheaper. When cartoons first moved from newspaper illustrations into the big screen films, there was a huge shift in production. A ton of labor was going into it, especially on the creative side, so it makes sense that they'd try and find every possible way to make things easier. You want to make a character that's going to be memorable and likable, so landing on a final, consistent look was important. Then they could just mass produce that puppy. Also, if it ain't broke, why try and fix it? If everybody likes these characters the way that they are, and they're already sold on how they look, talk, and act, then why start messing with that? The only time it makes sense to age a character is if you're trying to appeal to an equally aging audience. Shows like Dragon Ball Z and Avatar: The Last Airbender feature main characters who mature from young children into teenagers and adults, because the viewers were doing the same thing. As a result, it managed to maintain a lot of its original fans compared to most shows that people grow out of. Other shows mature along with their audiences, only without touching their characters. This happens by shifting the focus of who the show's main character is. Like when The Simpsons first started out, Bart was undeniably the main character of the show. As time went on and the viewers got older, maybe less interested in a pre-teen pulling pranks, the show shifted its focus to Homer, and he's been the primary A story ever since. They didn't have to change the characters, but they did pretty much change the age of the show's point of view. South Park did the same thing. The first couple of seasons focused on Kenny and Cartman as the main characters because they were the silliest and essentially the most immature. Over time, the more reasonable and responsible Kyle and Stan became the focal point, with Cartman acting more as a main antagonist. These days, Randy is the focal point. They went through a full maturing alongside us over the last 20 years, only we didn't notice because they never once made any changes to what it looks like. The boys didn't get any older, but the show most certainly did. Again, all this reasoning is nice, but it's really all about the dollars. I'm sure familiarity is important, but if they were to start messing around with how characters look, or even what they wear, then the prices would start to be astronomical. They've got their templates, and it's just economically wise to stick to them. Having one consistent set model allows animators to draw faster, which speeds up the whole process too. Every time an animated character changes its costume, a new design has to be drawn, approved, cleaned up, approved again, and colored. Unless the wardrobe change is pivotal to the plot of the story or something, it's usually just not worth going through all of that hassle. In 3D animations, every outfit is a rig. It needs to behave a certain way, and it's programmed to only have wrinkles in certain places and flow in a specific manner. The details are so intricately thorough that it would be impossible to have multiple outfits for multiple characters. Changing pretty much anything in an animated movie is difficult. That's why you normally only see things in 3D movies that have a definitive purpose. Plus, imagine trying to tell the difference between the boys in South Park if they didn't wear the same thing every episode. 3 out of the 4 of them have the exact same face. It would be impossible to keep track of if we didn't know who wore the orange jacket and who had the blue hat. And sometimes shows like to lean into this cartoon reality. Shows like American Dad, Family Guy, The Simpsons, South Park, and plenty of others have made jokes about their characters wearing the same outfit every day. Cartoons are so ever consistent that sometimes death doesn't even really matter. Family Guy killed off Brian the dog just to bring him right back. Heck, South Park took out Kenny in a whopping 126 episodes. But you know what else they did? They started 126 episodes the following week with a healthy and happy Kenny right there on screen. Because their time doesn't work like our time. Cartoon time exists to please us, and that's it. These characters don't change because we don't want them to change. We like things the way they are. We like Maggie as a baby. We like Batman in his 30s. We like Jonah Hill fat. We don't like change, so cartoons just don't do it. What do you guys think? Got any hot takes for us, eh? Drop Drop a comment in the section down below letting us know what you think. Before you go, make sure that you hit that thumbs up button, and if you haven't already, be sure to subscribe to ScreenRant to stay up to date on all of our latest releases. Until next time, bye!